I thought I knew what stability looked like. Standing on the balcony of the atrium in Jersey City, the lights of the distant harbor reflecting in the glass, celebrating our engagement with Lena and Ben. The jazz ensemble was sophisticated. The heirloom gin was perfectly balanced. And my fiancé, Gavin, seemed genuinely proud of our commitment. "So when's the date?" Lena asked, raising her glass towards us. Gavin sighed, a sound of deep, burdened exhaustion. "Well, we're still figuring things out. I mean, I want to make sure I'm making the right investment." Ben snorted a nervous laugh. "Cold feet already, man? Come on, you two are a team." That's when Gavin said it, his voice completely flat, laced with the same casual arrogance someone might use to dismiss a minor errand. "Obviously, I'm securing other options. She's not my best path, just my current one." The small gathering went silent. Even the smooth jazz seemed to scratch to a halt. I watched Lena's face change from polite amusement to cold fury. Ben's hand, which had been resting on his partner's shoulder, clenched. Gavin kept staring out at the harbor lights, completely oblivious to the detonation he had just caused. I felt something shift inside me. Not shock, not sorrow. Certainty, steel-edged and absolute. I sat straighter in my chair, adjusting the pearl bracelet on my wrist. Every movement felt measured, deliberate. "Where are you going?" Gavin asked, still gazing at the cityscape. I reached for my sleek, tailored blazer hanging over the chair. "Congratulations," I said to him, my voice barely a whisper. "You just saved us both a decade of misery." "What? It's just a financial comparison," he said, turning confusion replacing his arrogance. "I was just being realistic." I slipped on the blazer, smoothing the lapels. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. "Realistic," I nodded. "That's exactly what this has been." Then started to move forward. "Hey, Anya, maybe you should—" I raised a single hand. "No need." He was completely honest about his priorities. I appreciate that level of transparency. Gavin's bravado was getting visibly forced now. "You're being ridiculous. Sit down. I was kidding around." I pulled out my small clutch, placed enough bills on the low table to cover the entire night's tab, and a substantial thank you for the silent band. "Have a better evening, everyone." The walk to the elevator felt like a passage between two distinct realities. Behind me, I could hear his voice getting louder, shriller. "You're seriously going to walk away over a business comment? Are you that sensitive?" I didn't turn around. I simply walked out of the atrium and into the cool, damp Jersey City air. My phone started buzzing before I'd even reached the taxi stand. Text after text, call after call. I pulled it out, looked at his name flashing on the screen, and did something I'd wanted to do for a year. I blocked his number. Then I blocked him on professional networking sites. Then I blocked his email. Standing there on the sidewalk, watching the fairy lights bob on the water, I realized something incredible. For the first time in months, I felt completely free. I woke up the next morning with the strangest sense of quiet. No obligation to check the market news, just genuine peace. My phone showed 52 missed calls from unknown numbers. He'd been using Ben's phone, Lena's phone, probably every burner phone he could acquire. The voicemails ranged from tearful apologies to furious demands that I stop being dramatic. I deleted them all without listening. At the gallery, my curator, Max, handed me my strong espresso with a curious look. "Everything all right? You seem lighter today." "Never better," I said, and I meant it. Around 10, Max knocked on my office door. "There is a gentleman here to see you. Says he's your fiancé. He seems pretty distressed." Through my office window, I could see Gavin in the reception area, tie slightly askew, clutching a discarded napkin. "Tell him I'm not available. And Max, if he comes back, call the building manager." Max nodded and headed back. I watched him deliver the message.
Gavin's face cycled through shock, aggression, and raw desperation. He started pounding on the glass of the door. His voice, loud enough that I could hear it, was a grating whine. It was a misunderstanding, a stupid comparison. She's throwing away everything over a joke. Security politely but firmly escorted him out. By lunchtime, Ben had called the gallery line. Max transferred him through. Dude, what the hell happened last night? He's been calling us non-stop. He's at a motel downtown right now rambling about his life strategy. Did he explain what part of securing other options was the humorous part? Silence on the other end. Ben, you two were partners for 2 years. You're engaged. You can't just throw that away. I'm not throwing anything away. He already dismantled that commitment when he decided I was a temporary financial holding until something better emerged. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. I can't face the partners today. I quit my consulting role. Please just talk to me. Then another. I told everyone it was a misunderstanding. They all think you're being overly emotional. I added the number to my blocked list and poured myself a glass of Barolo. The next morning, Max informed me he'd called the office 18 times. Around noon, my phone rang. His sister, Chloe. You need to talk to him. He's completely destabilized. He lost his job because he couldn't stop panicking during client calls. This is insane. Over one stupid comment. One stupid comment about treating our engagement as a financial placeholder until something better emerged? Chloe, if someone asked you to describe your partnership with your husband, would securing other options ever enter your mind, sober or not? Long pause. That's different. No, it's not. He said what he meant, and I finally respected him enough to listen clearly. So you're just going to abandon someone you claim to love because he made one mistaken judgment?
I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm choosing not to marry someone who considers my commitment disposable until his perfect opportunity arrives. 2 weeks had passed since that night at the atrium, and the unraveling was just beginning. Word travels fast in the tri-state area's finance circles. Max buzzed my office intercom. Your friend Ben is online too. He says it's critical. Anya, you need to hear this, Ben said, his voice strained. Lena just got off the phone with Darcy from her book club. Darcy was at a charity mixer yesterday and overheard your ex talking to some venture capitalists, pitching himself, offering a 5-year strategy, the whole performance. And when Darcy asked who the venture capitalist was, your ex introduced him as someone he'd been in talks with for months, not networking casually, securing a serious sponsorship. I leaned back in my chair. Months? That's what Darcy said. And here's the kicker. When Darcy mentioned you two were engaged, your ex said, and I quote, "That arrangement is under review right now." Under review? I couldn't help but laugh. A sharp, cold sound. That's one way to put it. Dude, I owe you an apology. Lena and I thought maybe he just misspoke at the party, but this changes everything. By Thursday, the calls from mutual acquaintances had completely stopped. Nobody was asking me to reconcile anymore. Friday afternoon, Max knocked on my door. Ma'am, there's a situation downstairs. Your ex is in the reception area again, but this time he's not alone. He brought his mother. I watched through the window. His mother, typically severe and imposing, looked furious and humiliated. Gavin was gesturing wildly. Max, call security and have them escort both individuals out, firmly but with respect. Already done, ma'am, but you might want to hear what they told the receptionist. His mother demanded to speak with you about this ridiculous emotional reaction. When security approached, your ex started shouting about how everyone was being irrational and how you were being financially manipulative by ignoring him. I watched through the window as security walked them toward the service elevator. His mother was staring at her son with the kind of crushing disappointment that needed no translation. That evening, I decided to treat myself to dinner at a place he'd never tolerate, a small, vibrant tapas bar in West Orange. As I was enjoying my gambas al ajillo, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know you're reading this. Everyone thinks I'm unstable now. My mother thinks I'm lying about it being a simple mistake. Are you satisfied now? I deleted it and blocked the number.
The weekend brought new developments. Lena called Sunday morning. He showed up at our apartment last night around 1 a.m. He was drunk and kept saying he needed to explain his exit strategy to someone who would appreciate his foresight. It was a debacle. He was loud enough that our neighbors came out. What was he saying? The same thing over and over, that it was a sound business comparison, that everyone was overreacting, that you were turning people against him. But here's the thing, he kept contradicting himself. First it was a joke, then it was a communication breakdown, then it was something he said wrong because he was stressed. Stressed about what? He couldn't give a straight answer. Just kept insisting you were supposed to understand his long-term planning better. Monday morning brought the most interesting development yet. Max ran into Simon from Sterling Analytics, where Gavin worked. He didn't quit like he told everyone. He was terminated. Worse, he was let go for insubordination and excessive personal calls during work hours. Simon said he spent entire days demanding to know how long it would take to course correct his personal brand and bothering coworkers about his relationship problems. When his managing director tried to discuss his performance, he had a complete public meltdown and accused everyone of obstructing his career trajectory. A crisis he engineered. Exactly. And now your ex is telling people you cost him the job by cutting him off financially. 3 weeks after that party, I received a phone call from Drew, a mutual friend in Boston. "I need to tell you something," he said without preamble. "I was in the city last weekend. I saw Gavin with someone at the hotel bar. They were all over each other. When I approached, he looked like he'd seen a financial audit." He introduced the woman as his colleague, Miranda. But here's the thing. Miranda had no idea who I was or how I knew him. When I mentioned we were all friends and that he was engaged to you, Miranda got this frozen look and asked, "Engaged to who?" The familiar clarity washed over me. He never mentioned being engaged. Apparently not. Miranda seemed genuinely thrown. She was demanding answers as I walked away. Tuesday afternoon, Max buzzed me. "Ma'am, there's a woman here asking to speak with you. Says her name is Miranda Hayes, and it's regarding your ex-fiancé. She seems highly credible." Miranda turned out to be exactly what you'd expect. Sharp, poised, probably in her early 30s. "I apologize for showing up at your gallery," she began, "but I needed to speak with you directly. I think we've both been the target of extensive deception." I gestured for her to sit. "I'm listening." "I've been seeing Gavin for 4 months. He told me he'd ended a long-term relationship and was taking time to figure out his next corporate move. He said he was single, but not ready for anything serious yet." 4 months, I repeated. She pulled out her tablet and showed me a text exchange. After she confronted him about Drew's comments, he sent her a masterpiece of deflection. He told Miranda that I was an unstable ex who wouldn't accept the breakup, that I was emotionally volatile and spreading lies about an engagement that never materialized. He claimed I was harassing him, and that's why he'd been so secretive. He was protecting her from my dangerous emotional instability. "I almost believed it," Miranda continued, "until I did some basic research. Your engagement announcement was in the local society page 3 months ago. The timeline. He said you'd broken up 6 months ago, but the engagement announcement was dated 3 months ago. His story had zero structural integrity. I ended it Sunday night, told him I couldn't be involved with someone who requires that level of premeditated dishonesty. He had a complete emotional breakdown, started screaming about how everyone was abandoning him over trivial technicalities." She stood to leave. "I wanted you to know how deep this goes." After Miranda left, I realized he hadn't just been unfaithful. He'd been living completely separate realities. That evening, Ben called with an update. Lena had run into Maggie Wells, who confirmed Gavin had told her 2 weeks before the atrium party that the engagement was a PR fabrication and he was planning to dismantle the agreement. The pieces were falling into place. He'd already been planning his exit strategy, and his comments about securing other options wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was his genuine belief finally coming out. By the 5th week, the dramatic spectacle had turned into a case study in self-sabotage. Around noon, my assistant buzzed with an unusual call. It's Dr. Eliza Roth from Newark Behavioral Health. She says it's regarding a patient consultation and mentions your name specifically. Dr. Roth was professional, but clearly alarmed. I'm calling because one of my patients has been using our sessions to discuss elaborate plans to contact you. He's mentioned your workplace, your routine, and seems to have detailed knowledge of your schedule. He knows what time you arrive at work, where you take lunch, what gym you use. He's been tracking your movements and interpreting normal activities as signs that you want to reconcile. The calmness in my chest fractured slightly. Are you suggesting he's stalking me? I'm suggesting you should be aware of the situation. He's convinced that everyone in his life is conspiring against his relationship with you. He believes if he can just explain his strategic thinking properly, everything will return to normal. I detailed the breakup and the infidelity. Silence on the other end. He's told me that was a miscommunication, that you overreacted to a poorly phrased business analogy. That changes the context considerably. That afternoon brought a development that was both alarming and oddly satisfying. Alyssa from Gallery Human Resources knocked on my office door. We need to discuss a security issue. Your ex-fiancé has been contacting employees throughout the building trying to get information about you or convince them to deliver messages. He approached Carl from shipping in the parking garage yesterday, asking about your schedule. When Carl explained he didn't know you personally, your ex accused him of lying and became aggressive. She showed me photos taken by concerned colleagues. My ex sitting in his beat-up car across the street, clearly watching the gallery entrance, standing at the corner coffee shop with a clear view of our reception area, approaching people with what was obviously rehearsed desperation. Alyssa, I need building security to have his photo and instructions to call police if he approaches the property again. This has crossed into stalking territory. Already done, but there's something else you should know. He's been telling people that you're having some kind of emotional breakdown and that your family has asked him to help bring you back to reality. My family? He specifically mentioned your brother, Marcus, being worried about your erratic behavior since the engagement ended. I don't have a brother named Marcus. The depth of his fabrication was actually impressive. That evening, I decided to visit my parents in Westchester. My mother's reaction was immediate and sharp. He called here last week that you were going through a difficult time and had cut off contact with everyone who cared about you. He wanted us to help convince you to get professional help. My father looked up from his iPad. I told him if you needed help, you'd ask for it. Then I hung up. He called back 3 more times. Each call, the story got more elaborate. By the final call, he was claiming you threatened to liquidate assets if he didn't take you back. My father folded his iPad cover. Anya, that's not someone trying to fix a mistake. That's someone who doesn't live in the same reality as the rest of us. Friday morning brought the most ridiculous development yet. Max approached with barely contained amusement. You're going to love this. He's hired a lawyer. For what? Harassment charges against you. Against me? Mr. Stewart from Stewart & Associates called this morning. Apparently, he's retained them to pursue legal action for stalking, harassment, and intentional infliction of financial distress. He claims you've orchestrated a campaign to destroy his reputation because he tried to end your relationship. I started laughing, a genuine, liberating sound. He tried to end our relationship? That's his story now. I suggested Mr. Stewart might want to verify his client's claims before proceeding. I also mentioned that we have security footage of his repeated attempts to access this building and that several of our employees have filed complaints about his harassment. Max grinned. I think Mr. Stewart is about to discover his client hasn't been entirely honest about the situation. 3 months had passed since that night at the atrium, and life had settled into genuine peace. Max had become an expert at filtering the occasional attempts at contact. My ex's lawyer had quietly dropped the harassment case. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Max knocked with an expression I'd learned to recognize. Incoming spectacle. Ma'am, you're going to want to hear this. Your ex showed up again, but this time he wasn't alone. He brought a woman, older, professional, well-dressed, claiming to be his new serious investor. His new serious investor? According to the receptionist, he was very loud about how wonderful his new arrangement is and how much better she understands his career needs than you ever did. He wanted you to meet her to prove he'd maximized his portfolio and was happy. Security escorted them both out as usual, but the woman seemed confused about why they were there. The receptionist heard her asking him why he needed to justify anything to his ex-partner if he was truly happy. As they were leaving, he started explaining to her that you were obsessed with him and couldn't accept that he'd found someone better. That afternoon, I decided to take a long lunch at a small bistro in Hoboken. As I was finishing my meal, I spotted a familiar figure through the window. He was sitting at an outdoor cafe across the street, alone, constantly checking his phone. Even from a distance, he looked hollowed out. He looked up and saw me. Then he stood up quickly, knocking over his coffee cup in the process, and rushed toward me with an expression that mixed hope, desperation, and relief.
"Finally," he called out. "I've been trying to reach you for months. We need to negotiate a settlement." "There's nothing to negotiate," I said calmly. "Yes, there is. Everyone has the wrong idea about what happened. I need to explain what I actually meant that night." "You meant exactly what you said." "No, I didn't. I was stressed about the market volatility and I said something tactless. I've been trying to tell you." "You've been tracking me for 3 months." His face flushed a dull red. "I haven't been tracking anyone. I've been trying to fix a communication breakdown that you won't let me fix." "There's no breakdown. You were seeing other women while engaged to me. Multiple women for months. That wasn't." He looked around frantically. "Those were just professional contacts." "Contacts? Who told you we're single? How do you—" He stopped, realizing he just confirmed the truth. "It wasn't what you think." "It was exactly what I think. And everyone else thinks the same thing now that they know the facts." "Everyone is wrong. You've turned them all against me." "I haven't spoken to anyone about you since that night. I didn't need to. You've been doing all the talking." I could see the moment he realized his strategies he'd crafted for different audiences had created their own problems, completely independent of anything I'd done. "So what now?" he asked, his voice smaller than I'd heard it since that night. "Just despise me forever." "I don't despise you. I don't think about you at all." It was the most honest, devastating thing I'd said to him in our entire relationship, and I could see it hit harder than anger or accusations would have. "But we were engaged. We were planning a future." "You were planning multiple contingencies. I was planning a life with someone who didn't exist." He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. For the first time in months, he seemed to actually hear what I was saying. "I should get going. I hope you find the structure you need." As I walked away, I heard him call after me one more time. "What about partnership? What about second chances?" I turned back briefly. "Those are for people who take responsibility for their mistakes. You're still trying to convince people that reality is wrong, and I'm done being your audience." 6 months later, I was having dinner with Lena and Ben when the final update arrived. "He moved back to Ohio," Lena said over dessert. "His mother finally stopped enabling his spiral and gave him an ultimatum.
Get long-term career counseling or find somewhere else to live. What about the new investor? I asked. Lasted about 2 weeks after that day he brought her to your gallery. Apparently, she did some due diligence and didn't like what she found. Ben raised his glass. To dodging disasters. To recognizing them in the first place, I corrected. The entire experience had taught me the difference between someone having a momentary lapse in judgment and someone being fundamentally unsound. Unsound people simply reveal who they are more clearly over time. That night at the atrium, he'd finally shown me who he actually was. Everything that followed was just confirmation. I had learned exactly what I didn't want, and I'd learned to trust myself enough to walk away the moment I saw it.